sometimes you join these, and I do it myself, and you're just already in it, and you don't know it.
You're
So
in it.
I'm in it.
You're in it because I have no idea how to start these, and I always worry that you're going to strike absolute gold, and I haven't hit record.
Yeah,
I mean, hitting gold in the
100%.
first few seconds would be impressive, but
I like to be in, and then at the end of the podcast, it's hard to know. Do you end the meeting when we're like, "Okay, see you later. Thanks for having me"? Do you end the meeting,
yeah.
or are we having a chat after that? Because in my head, I'm like, if we've already wrapped it up, we don't need to wrap it up twice.
No, if we wrap it up, we can just once I say just
We're
see
in.
it. I've done a few. This is the fourth one I've done, I think, so far. So
Okay.
because I've only done it with people that I sort of know so far. So it's like you do have a bit of a chat afterwards, but it's always like a few seconds because it's like we've been talking for an hour. We don't really need much more than that.
Yeah. Who have you recorded with so far? We can badmouth them and then have some viral clips.
So it started with Alan Irwin, who
Oh, for
we all.
fuck's sake. Yeah. Can I swear?
Yeah. I actively encourage it.
Alan Irwin, let's just say, might be a major player on the underground cockfighting circuit. Might be. I don't know.
And is that the animal or?
Let's say the better. Let's just say either way, McGalbury.
So we went from Alan Irwin, then we went to Vittorio.
Yep. Okay. I mean, complete lie. Vittorio Angeloni's stage name. The guy's called Victor Allen.
Not even Italian. Like.
Zero. I think he went to like Morelli's ice cream parlor once. You know what I mean? Like it's closest he's got, and he vaguely likes pizza.
Just had his first lick, and he's like, "I'm Vittorio now."
Yeah. Then had an ice cream.
Yeah. And then we went to Jordan Robinson.
Oh fuck! Again, someone who the heart thing. Guy has a solid ticker. Complete bullshit.
Oh, 100%.
Took himself to Tenerife. Did a GoFundMe for his heart operation. Took himself to Tenerife. Place Las Americas. Just fucking enjoyed himself eating calypsos on the beach. Yeah, his ticker's 100%.
Oh, it's better than ours.
Yeah.
The whole zombie Jordan thing was just a gimmick, like.
Complete bullshit. In fact, what's weirder is, I'm lying. He did have the heart surgery, but he didn't need it. But I said, why do you need that? What's the problem? And he said in his own words, it's material, baby.
that sounds exactly like Jordan.
100%.
I might put this just at the end of his episode as well. Just
yeah, please do.
I think it would make more sense. So let's say we've jumped right into it, but briefly, let me see. I don't really think you need to do much of an intro, like, as I'm sure you do.
Okay. No. Is that behind you real?
No, none of this is real. No, it is. But if you see where I am, I'm like in the kitchen, but it's
right.
it looks kind of nice. But I've just brought that over. I mentioned it on the Vittorio episode. It's some sort of it's like I'm Zach Galifianakis, but only between one fern.
But you're not between it.
You can't be between one thing. You can't be between one thing, can you?
Not unless, well, you could be if it had branches that kind of came out both sides.
If it went the whole way over the top.
Yeah, you could be. Don't let anyone tell you can't be
between one thing.
Everyone has to have a dream.
That's my only one. So instead of doing intros, quickly just tell me how you first got into comedy, which was a long time ago now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're telling me. Mm-hmm. It was 13 years ago. Was it 13? Jesus Christ!
I remember meeting you. I remember meeting you in 2009. I think you hadn't long started then.
Yeah, I was probably 2 years in then. Yeah, I started comedy when I was, I think, in between, and I was in between being 18 and 19, and I can't remember which of those I was, but it was around about that age, and I always had like a love for comedy, for whether it was stand up or sketches, going to some kind of like going to watch comedy at the Empire and places like that when I was about 16, 17. Yeah. But then since I was a kid, I've been watching any form of comedy I could possibly consume on TV. And I just, like as a kid, I wasn't really a class clown. I'd have picked my moments and then I would have delivered like a good stand-up. You know, I wasn't always on.
But your timing.
It was all about my timing. And so like sometimes you get it wrong. But I just loved trying to be funny, and I loved people making me laugh, and I just knew I wanted to do something with comedy. So thought, let me try. I'm like I wouldn't say I'm more nervous as a person than people expect me to be, but I'm probably a lot less, what would you say, like always on than people would expect.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There are comedians out there, even some of the local ones, that they come off stage and they're pretty much exactly the same. Like
Yeah,
Mickey I would say Mickey's always on.
always on. And
Like,
it's probably more common for stand-ups to be like that.
yeah,
Um, but obviously I'm just happy to like
yeah,
chill out.
yeah.
So people were probably, some people would have been surprised, some wouldn't, when I did stand up. And then the first gig I did was fucking so bad, so bad.
Where did you
And
do your first one?
I did it in Black Box, in the green room, Black Box,
Right.
the small room there. And that's actually where I did my first ever solo show as well, like I don't know, 6-7 years later. But the lineup was me, Dermot Core,
Yes.
Neil Dugan, Paul Curry, and Jerry McBride. So I mean, looking back, it was a great line. In hindsight, it was a great lineup. But I learned like a script. I had no experience of doing anything ever on stage.
Yeah.
And I learned like a stand-up script that I'd written, but I didn't factor in the nerves. So the nerves made me forget what I'd written, and it fell apart. I did a really short set, and it was bad. And then I said I would never do it again, but in a kind of upbeat way. You know, I was like, I've tried this. It was okay. But then about 6 months later, I thought, let me try it again. And I did the Pavilion from the second gig. It had just started as a club.
Right.
And I had a real good second gig. And then I went, well, I'm brilliant at stand-up now. And then my third gig was shit. And then it was shit for a lot of years.
Yeah, that's my experience, because my first one was the Pavilion. I started in 2012, and then I took a massive break in between. Like, I've only been back into it the past couple of years, and you can't really count the past couple of years, so it's literally only been probably less than a year collectively.
Yeah, you've been 3 decades you've been in the business.
But I've done 4 gigs. Yeah. So it was only whenever the pandemic hit, I was only sort of starting to find my feet again. But I started in the PAV in like 2012. Yeah. We talked about this briefly on Alan's episode because he was running it at the time. It was actually yourself. You text me or something to come down to Molly's parlor, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Because there was I think you were on that night. Don't remember much of it. I just remember Rory Ward hitting a punter in the head with the microphones. He wouldn't shut up.
Did
he? Yeah, it was the guy in the front row. He wouldn't shut up, and he just cocked him in the head with the microphone.
Ah, there you go.
Which is
That's
not
as rock and roll as local comedy has ever got.
Yeah, that club didn't last too long after that.
Yeah, or that guy.
no, that was it. But
why did you take a break for so long?
I just fell out of love with it and just wasn't enjoying it, and was really bad for ages. But at the time, I didn't know that it's pretty much everyone's experience. You're just bad for a long time.
Yeah. And the return, I mean, what you get back out of it isn't a lot for what you're putting into it at the start, if you know what I mean. Like
it's a grind.
You're working on your set, then on the night you're fighting all these nerves and all this kind of stuff, and you're maybe in your first gig getting like a couple of laughs, but you're not fucking, in most cases you're not taking the roof off. So the payoff isn't big at the start.
Yeah, see, I should have stopped after my first gig, because my first gig I brought I think there was about at least 7 or 8 people with me. Alan Irwin says it was like an entourage, but it was about 7 or 8 people. So they were just laughing at the fact that I was on stage. You know, it's like at the start when you bring your mates. So that went.
That's one thing I say to people when anytime someone's like, oh, getting into stand up, like, what's your advice? In front of strangers is the best way to start, because you know where you're at. But then again, you probably loved it because you had your mates there, and
it was great. But it's one of those things as well. Your mates come and watch you at the start, and then I'm sure it's the same in your experience. But obviously, they'll come and see your big shows and stuff. But like, no one's gonna come down and watch you do the PAV every 2 weeks. Like,
it sort of comes full circle, because at the start, yes, out of curiosity, everybody wants to see you, and by and large, they want to see if you how shit you are. That's what people came to see me at the start, and and not really. They want to support, but at the same time, if you have a bad one, they're going to enjoy it as much as if you have a good one, which I get. And then for years, they don't want to, because a lot of time you're doing the same stuff and it's the same venues. But now it's like, you know, the comedy scene is also so much better now.
Oh,
So
100%.
friends want to come to gigs because the standard is so much better.
Yeah, I feel like it has changed an awful lot over the years as well. From like whenever I first started,
Yeah.
and even just my mentality when it comes to watching comedy, because there's a lot of the guys. Obviously, everyone has their bits, and then they maybe do it for a year and then throw it away or whatever. But there's some of the comedians in the local scene. When I see them, I want to see them do that bit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely.
Which,
It's a tough one because we have so little gigs that you want to turn over, like I turn over material a lot, like always try a lot of new stuff if I can. But it's not that easy because if you're in a big city, you can do 4 spots a night and you get through the material a lot quicker. Whereas here, you might be
yeah,
lucky to gig once a week. So it's like, well, I can't keep doing new stuff because I haven't even finessed this
yeah,
existing bit.
you need
It's
to
tough. It's
workshop it.
balancing out. Yeah.
No, it is strange. But let's just say we're talking. The whole podcast is the Sane Asylum. So my question to you is: for the last year, what has kept you sane?
I mentioned earlier being like pretty chilled out. I am someone who like I like working hard. Like I have developed a strong work ethic that I didn't used to have. Like especially when I started like going full time with stand up or even getting into stand up. I was like a little bit lazy, a little bit scattergun, short attention span, all that kind of stuff that being young gives you in most cases.
Yeah,
But now I've got like I know how to manage my time better, and I still fuck it up, and I still have to have a word with myself and go, right, screw your head on, do this, right? But for the most part, I'm good at managing my time. So we had a kid over lockdown
that's quite a big thing.
in July. Yeah, so
Quite literally.
yeah, he was huge. Guy came out with a provisional driving license and a family, but it was, I mean, that has kept me sane and also made me insane at the same time. I mean, overall, it's a great experience, but of course,
Yeah,
like at the start, the sleep deprivation and stuff was
because
tough.
you would have been someone who you enjoyed your sleep, didn't you?
I go to bed early. I go to bed early, but I'm an early bird, but I like
Yeah,
I like I like to bank a load of hours.
yeah, yeah,
I'm someone who give me 10 hours. It's quite a lot. Maybe
yeah,
even ideally I sleep from 10:30
yeah,
until 7. I'm good with that. So what's kept me sane? Exercise definitely.
yeah,
Like it's not, when you're a comedian, people want you to be funny. It's not funny to say it. I fucking love exercise. I run and work out every day. What I do one or the other, and that's a great way to stick a podcast on or music.
yeah,
What I've been doing now is albums that I would have got whenever I was a kid and just listened to the hits on or fast forwarded loads. I've been like reconnecting with those albums and listening from start to finish, and that has been class.
What's your favorite? What have you really connected with recently, music wise?
An album that I'd never really listened to all of it, and now I have, is Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory.
That's one of my. I think I got that for like my it would have been 16th
15.
birthday or something around that
Yeah,
time. Like I got that for my birthday. I still play that album. That's a great workout album as well.
brilliant album. So like I love like keeping fit and playing foot. Yeah, I play football, so I just love it. Like I always love being active. Like I'd be a fidgeter if I haven't got something done in a day, whether it's a workout
Yeah,
or a run or something like that. So
yeah,
that's been good to give me like a bit of a purpose without stand up podcast. Doing the podcast, going on podcasts like this
yeah,
is great because you're not doing stand up comedy, but it's still falling under the same umbrella
yeah.
roughly.
You're getting that sort of creative release that you would have. That's another thing I want to ask you. How have you really adjusted to not having gigs? Because you would have been gigging
As
pretty much,
much
I
as
would
I
say, on
could.
a weekly basis. Like, there probably
Oh
wasn't.
yeah,
It's
God
probably
yeah.
hardly a week that you wouldn't have been gigging.
No. Every week definitely. I would find something. Like I would, of course, getting to do like really nice gigs, but then I
Yeah,
if there was nothing on for a week, I'd drive to Ballymena to do 5 minutes somewhere. You just have to keep going at it. But I probably haven't adjusted to not having stand up. I'm still I do find that difficult to not be doing stand up, and I'm very positive about, hopefully it's not going to be long, and we'll get back at it.
Yeah.
But I definitely have. The only time I've like had a wobble with it was only about 2-3 months ago, and I just thought about the amount of time I hadn't done stand up for, and I got like upset. I was like, this has 13 years of doing it, and like I've never taken a break really ever from it, and to the point where like it's how I've met so many of my friends. It's socially what I like to go out and do nowadays, instead of like nights out, is go do a gig, have a coffee with other people that are on beforehand, and then go home straight away. It is the way I operate, and to not have that is so difficult.
Yeah, it's not just your social life being taken away; it's your everything, your work life, but your work was your social life pretty much.
Yeah, and it's such a huge part of me as a person, stand up. That if this wasn't my job, I would be doing it as a hobby. Like if it all if all the paid gigs ended and all that, I'd still be doing stand up as much as I could.
Yeah.
So I have adjusted in that I have been doing other things and working at other things within comedy, still doing stuff, but like making corporate videos, hosting some Zoom things, been able to do radio and a wee bit of TV here and there, just trying to make the most of it. And with a family, obviously making sure that I'm bringing money in, and I'm working as hard, if not harder than I would have been. I'm working on a sitcom, which is like my first script.
Nice.
That's the first thing I've done, and that's kept me really busy. And it's a totally different discipline, but I've enjoyed doing that.
So would you say that do you have to approach that completely differently to writing stand up?
Yeah, I've spent years like writing and being like, what do you think of this sitcom, and never really getting anywhere. And I think it is because of bad habits through stand up, because with stand up you're trying to write the funniest thing possible in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
But with scripts, not every character can be a punchline heavy thing. So I've had to understand that, and I'm getting better, but I've been writing stuff like this for about 6-7 years, and now it feels like what this one project is like something's happening with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a different discipline.
And when it comes to writing stand up again, so obviously you've just sold out your first night of the SSA, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, cheers, thanks.
And the second night is starting to sell as well. How do you write for a big show whenever you don't have the gigs? Because obviously you would have tested stuff out all the time. Are you finding it difficult, or are you fairly comfortable with it?
At the start of lockdown, I took a month off writing because I wanted to we're having obviously less interactions and experiences in lockdown. So I thought, let's not force it. Let me go to the shops in the supermarket and speak to friends, and eventually I'll start to have some stuff to put together. So I did that, and I was writing a lot. Then I kind of went up and down with it, but I always make sure to fucking bash something out if it's shit or if it's not that funny. So I've started working with I have this older laptop here that I just use this used to just be my Football Manager laptop. Right. And also it has a Boytown podcast sticker on it, RIP. And it used to be my Football Manager laptop, and now it's just for writing stand-up. And I cleared the laptop, restored it to factory settings. There's no background picture. It's just for stand-up writing. So
just being strict.
My foot is on the throttle with it. And I've also got to work on 2 shows, because the show that I should have done last year is going to be this October, and it was kind of ready to go, but I'm still going to be working on it close to the time. So I'm essentially writing 2 hours, 20 minutes of stand-up, and it's a challenge, but I've got this is my like doodle notebook for like thoughts, and then
Yeah.
I'll convert it into the laptop, and then eventually that'll be stand up. But I'm kind of changing the way I write a bit, where I used to just write it by hand. Now I'm using the laptop because I find it easier. I don't like scribbling stuff out. I have a wee bit OCD like that.
I'm the
And
same. I
then
kind of have to have it sort of nice and neat on the
neat.
computer. Yeah, I have it
Yeah.
all. I've even used spreadsheets for gigs. I don't know if
Well,
that's taking it too
you're one
far.
liner. You're one
Yeah.
liner, so that would make total sense
Yeah,
to do it like that.
yeah, so it's literally just a word. So I'll have maybe like 30 words that I have to memorize, and I'll have them split up into three. And it's really good because I actually broke it down to remember the words, and then I just remembered the first letter. So in my head, I know what the
It's great.
next letter is.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing I could do because I have a terrible memory.
Are you writing a lot of
I haven't been
jokes?
writing. I haven't been writing a lot. I've got some bits and pieces. Like at the minute, I'm still very much kind of happy doing like the open spots, and
Oh yeah.
I think probably for the next year, my aim is just to get a decent 20 minutes, half an hour.
I think that way of thinking is really smart, and
Mm.
it wasn't there for so many people for so long. It was like when I started, it was like, yeah, well, this is great. Let's just see what happens, kind of. And then
Mm.
there was a big shift, I would say, about 4 years ago, where
Mm.
everybody wanted to do an hour of stand up,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter how long they've been doing it for. And there's no magic formula where it's like,
No.
oh, you have to be doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
Do it when you feel like you can. But because everyone was doing it, a lot of people shot themselves in the foot by doing it. They didn't have an hour long show, and it sort of backfired.
Yeah.
But now I think everyone's more switched on, and they're sort of coming back to exactly what you've described of, I'm just going to do the shorter sets, build up my experience, and then not.
Slowly built to it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
some of the best crack is even still is doing the 5 minute spot, because there's no pressure really on you. You're
Yeah.
just able to like come in, and the audience always kind of want more if it goes well. So I would just definitely just keep doing that until you're
Yeah.
happy.
No, I was booked in to do half an hour last July. It was for, Graham's festival that he runs.
Yeah.
Is it Belly Laughs, is it? Or?
Yes, belly laugh. Yeah.
I think so. I was booked in to do a half hour there.
No, comedy lab.
Comedy Lab, is that what it is? What's Belly Laughs? Is that an old one?
It was an old one, yeah.
That's what it is. No, they don't a lot of the time.
I said that like I had brought them down. I had literally just did one gig for them once.
Just shut the place down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was booked in to do the first half hour, but I know for a fact that I wasn't ready. Like I would have had a half hour show, but I just know it wouldn't have been anywhere near the quality that I would hope to whenever I do a first, whether it is a half hour show or even my first 20 minutes. Like at the minute, I was basically just doing 10 anytime I was gigging.
That's
which I was happy with. Yeah, it was a tight. I would say it was a tight 10. I was happy with it. It was going well, pretty much.
You're wearing a suit as well.
Yeah, and
I love that. I really really love that. I think, especially for the one-liner stuff, I think it works really well, and I can't work out why more people don't do it.
It was you mentioned this to me years ago. I think it was.
Oh, there you go.
I think it was whenever we were recording remember the Andrew Trimble video up at the gym.
Yes.
It's all those years ago. I think you'd mentioned that, and I was at the time where I wasn't gigging at all, and then 3 years ago started working in the suit shop.
Yeah.
So getting all these free suits, getting back at the stand up. There was times where I was literally gigging as soon as I come out of work. So from the start, I was like, I'm just going to wear the suit, and it worked really well because there's times I was getting laughs because it was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It's one of those things. I didn't wear it at the last gig, but I do feel like it's something that I might stick with. If
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes you more memorable to people as well. They're like, oh, fuck, that's the guy that wears a suit. And I think audiences like it because they're like, fuck, he's put a bit of effort in.
No, because I did a couple of gigs. There was one I went up with just a glass of red wine, just wearing the suit.
Yeah,
and there's one I did with a whiskey and just held the whiskey glass for the whole set. Like shaking, but holding the whiskey glass. But no, it was great. Let's move on to them. We talked about what has kept you sane. What has driven you insane over the last year? Apart from your baby.
it's like it was literally about a 6 week sleep period. Once we broke through that, and now he wakes up early now, but that kind of suits because I go to bed really early.
Yeah.
What's driving me insane? Fucking selfishly, social media. I see the whole, Piers Morgan, Meghan Markle, all this shit. And this idea of like wokeness, and I know it's been talked about for so long, like the idea of being woke and all that kind of thing. I am totally purposely ignorant to it all. I barely read the news, and it's not because I'm like fake news and that kind of thing. I just don't really care, and I don't think enough people want to say that. Where they're like, look, I understand, like, okay, like the world's a bit crazy at the minute, but for my own sanity, I can't really look at that because I'll feel the way this person feels who is screaming,
just having a shit time.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those. It's a good, because I would, especially around the time of like the American election and stuff. Like I've had far too much free time this past year. It's been ridiculous. So I really got into that. I was really following it. And obviously when it comes to the news and stuff, you're going to read the news, you're going to watch the videos from the sources that you trust or the sources that you like.
Yeah.
So I was obviously watching Fox News. No.
No, so 4 more years.
No, so it was I was really watching like CNN and stuff, so it was all to do that. And it was always like how like Trump and how like awful he is and all that sort of stuff, and what stupid things he said today. And then I caught myself on after a while. I was like, I just need to stop watching this because it's actually bringing me down, but I didn't realize it was bringing me down until like a while after.
Yeah, it's like I used to listen to news shows, politics, Nolan, all that kind of thing in the morning. And I realized that I was starting the day kind of angry or feeling the confrontation that I'd been listening to. I was like feeling like I was part of it. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just stopped and I stuck on Classic FM one morning, and now I either listen to Classic FM or Gold, and I love it. I make my porridge with a big smile on my face and have a boner, and I have a good time.
Just dancing around the kitchen,
Yeah, knocking things over off worktops, and it's fun.
Is that the sitcom you're writing? Is it?
Yeah. It's called Making Porridge with a Boner, and it should be good. I think.
Sorry, Making Porridge with a Boner. That's just...
Making Porridge with a Boner. That's a working title. It might obviously be it's Making Porridge with a Hard On. So, but I think people will be really angry at me saying this, but I've just decided I'm going to have fun. I've decided I'm going to smile and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to close my eyes and ears to everything that's going on. And it may be the end of the days, and it may be the worst time in history to be alive if you listen to some people, but I am going to enjoy myself, I think.